about that, man? That's actually looking pretty good. Welcome back to another Can We Keep It Real podcast, man. It's brought to you by Coldwell Bankers, Coastal Homes, Mark Right. Consider Coldwell Bankers today. Give Mark a call at 401-787-5203. Mark always willing to step up for the football community. We're going to bring one of my good friends, also, the Umass Darthmouth, one of the coaches that does so much for many Rhode Island kids. I think UMass probably has about 25 kids on their roster. What's up, Coach?
Good evening, Mike. What's going on?
Oh, not much. It's nice I could finally get you sat down for a while to bring you on. You've been a busy guy.
Yeah, we just finally ended technically preseason camp, and we're already gone into game prep mode for Saturday's game on the road at Hudson. So we've been kind of deep diving into that, which is a lot of time. I haven't really slept much.
I can tell. Do you ever?
Not really.
Mike Green said a couple of weeks ago that you was a graduate student at Salve Regina, and your work ethic and your passion, really shows why you are the man you are today. Oh, did you hear what I said? Mike Green mentioned that when you was at Salve Regina, your work ethic was why you are the man you are today.
Yeah, Mike was our running backs coach. We had a really good staff back then. When I first got hired, Tim Cohen was the one that initially hired me. And what happened was I got hired early spring of my senior year, like January, February, that school year. And then last minute, he decided to go coach at LaSalle Academy because his son was going to be a freshman there. And it's his only son, Liam, who's now the offense coordinator at Kentucky in the SEC. So our defense coordinator, who was my position coach, Arthur Bell, was another very respected coach in the industry, became the head coach. He got elevated to become the head coach, and he kept me on staff in getting my master's. And so I was a recruiting coordinator and graduate assistant. And so I had two great mentors to start my coaching career rolling, and Tim Cohen and Arthur Bell. They kind of built my foundation in recruiting. They're both very good recruiters, very good coaches. And then Mike was a running backs coach at the time because I was coaching on defense. I was coaching D-line. And so I really got to know Mike. He was a very good running backs coach, very smart offensive guy. And he did the opposite of what I did. My first 14 years of my career, I coached in defense. In the last 7, I've coached in offense, where he was an offensive guy and then did the transition over to defense about 10, 12 years ago or so, and was the defense coordinator at Henrican for approximately, I want to say, 10 years, maybe more, so roughly 10 years, with a lot of success. Mikey, your mic's not on.
My bad.
Sure.
I said this off camera to you. It's kind of hard to get somebody to get you an episode without mentioning your name. And Willie Edgewood said that you're one of the highest regarded recruiters in this area.
I appreciate those comments. The thing about it is, I tell people all the time, they're like, "Oh, you do all these hours, you do all these things." Me and Willie talked about this at length, and he's very similar in the sense that this isn't a job to him. This is like a passion. So a lot of people that get in this industry that think it's like a overbearing or a grind, they get burnt out because they don't see it. They see it as work. Obviously, it's work, but it's a passion. So to me, I never get tired of recruiting. I never get tired trying to find the next best thing in recruiting, evaluating film, looking at all the intangibles. So for me, some people say you're crazy to get up at 4 a.m. and many days be up till midnight and then reset and do it again the next day. And I tell people all the time, I probably legitimately work 360 days a year. I literally take off Christmas Day, but I'm still looking at stuff on my phone and Twitter for recruits or film. But like legitimately, I'd probably take off 360 days a year. I mean, I'd probably take off only 5 out of 365 days a year. So it's very unique. People say, how can you do that? And it's what I do. It's what I've known. And my whole family's in. The other thing that's rare is that, and Willie's the same way. Like Willie is like a machine. Like literally, people don't realize how hard Willie works. They probably see it, but they don't realize how deep it goes. Like Willie is doing work at all hours of the day and night, constantly invested into finding the best players for Brown University. So I learned a lot from Willie in the last 2 years, especially. I've known him a long time. Much respect from both playing and coaching, but I learned a lot from him in the last 2 years, which were invaluable information about just some things you can do better in recruiting, better in play design, better in designing drills. So like I've taken a lot of his knowledge. It's helped me as a coach. So I appreciate those positive words from him, but he deserves a lot of accolades. I believe he will end up in the National Football League as a coach sooner than people realize. He's very talented. So the fact that 2 NFL teams reached out to him this year to be, in that one of those introductory roles, so to speak, says that if he continues to do what he's doing, it's going to pay dividends down the road. It's planting seeds, that's how life is. The more seeds you plant, the more you network, the more you do, the better you grow, the more opportunities. He's going to have those opportunities for sure. He deserves them. So Brown football's in a good place with him, Coach Q, and that staff, Ryan Madison, all those guys. I worked their camps, and let me tell you, they're going to climb the ladder in the Ivy League very quickly. And when they say they're going to play fast, they're going to play fast, very fast. So I think they're on the right path.
Coach Dunbar brings in Najee Barrows as his O-line coach, and I always hear cornbread going around. Is that a nickname? Like a lot of people, when you're mentioned, says shout out cornbread.
So here's a funny story. So when I got to Sally in my first year, one of my roommates was a guy named Mario Puro, one of our great players and a very good friend. Mario was one of our free safeties and was one of our best special teams players too. And he was an older kid. And so I got the nickname from him. It's kind of a funny story. And so it like stuck. So it was one of these like kind of neat nicknames that stuck. And like literally by the time it was a sophomore there, I don't think anyone called me by my real name, including the commentators in games. So it was pretty funny. I saw Najee Barrows had comment. I recruited Najee. Najee was a great player at Central, an all-state D lineman. It was very versatile. He was like a Mike Vrabel type guy, Warren Sapp type guy, where he can move very well for his size, extremely strong, very football savvy, would play injured at a high level, which is hard. Not a lot of guys can do that. And he was really one of my first big-time recruits there that I could always trust Najee to make the play. He would always make the right decision. And that's not common with young players in your first year. And so he played as a true freshman at Salve, had a very good Salve team, and was an impact player from the get-go. And from that point forward, he just got rapidly better. So kudos to him. I mean, he's a great guy, great coach. I've known him, for 20 years now, 21 years now. So I watched him as an underclassman in high school dominate around high school football at Central. And, just a good person. He's doing well in life and doing well in coaching. And he's going to be a very big asset to Wesley's program. He's going to be something they've never had before. And he can really relate to all types of kids, which is good, You
just had another comment that said, best of luck, coach. All these young men are in good hands at UMass, 1% better each day. Can't cheat the grind. That comes in from a Facebook user. Their name wasn't recognized, but that happens when they're watching from a group. Talking about, you mentioned the kids that went through the Brown University camp, a lot of the camps that you went to this season. Coach Edwards said we're looking at the best kids he's ever seen in his life.
I believe so. We've always had individual kids who are very good. He was one of them. I like to play against Coach Edwards. He was a very good player at West Warwick and dominated high school football as a fullback. Very good downhill back, powerful, could run like a tailback, but could power through people like a fullback. So he had that balance of speed and power that's rare. And he was built like a man in high school, so it was different to see a kid like that. So, but we've had great players over the years: Mike Cloud, Buddy Rogers, people of that caliber. But right now, I think the level of the average player is going up rapidly. So, like before, we always had like a kid or two or three a year. There were dudes and a couple of decent ones. But I think now the level of dudes is growing, but the level of the next tier kid is getting rapidly better. There's more of them. Um, I think Rhode Island is evolving, and the further we evolve, the further we put more money into football, the high schools and the communities, it will grow and kids will get better. I've always said this to people, and people don't believe me, but I've seen in summer 2019, I went to 61 Division I schools for prospect camps, and that was a very busy summer. And what I got to see was this. I talked to a lot of coaches and learned from a lot of people. It's about development. Now, there's great football in places like Florida, Texas, and everybody says, well, the players are better. I said yes and no. They're better because they're developed more from 9th to 12th grade on the average. They have full-time strength conditioning coaches in a lot of those high schools. Their high school coaches full-time. Their facilities are mirror mid-level college facilities at some of those places. So it's the infrastructure and what they're doing is developing the kids faster, bigger, faster, stronger. It's not like they have something special in the water down there. There are players here. If we develop them, they will develop earlier, develop bigger, develop faster, become better football players. And I think we're starting to do that here in Southern New England, especially Rhode Island. I mean, obviously, Quiddy Pay graded out like a 94 point something percent as a rookie, one of the top rookies in the NFL. And so you're starting to see the development pay out in dividends. I mean, there's a lot of good young coaches. I say young because I'm getting old, which I didn't think of myself as old a couple years ago, but I am. There's a lot of good young coaches around that are passionate and that really care about the kids and care about like what can they do as coaches to help them succeed. And that is making high school football around better. We need to continue to do that and continue to move that train collaboratively. Yes, everybody wants to win the state title on Friday nights, and that's obviously everybody's goal. But the bigger picture is developing kids to be great students and athletes at the next level, whatever their niche is, no matter if it's Division II, Division III, Division I, which is FBS and FCS, JUCO, NAIA. The more great young men we produce, the better the product. And I think the more everybody works together, I see more collaboration than we have had in the past. I think that's good. I think everybody should be very positive about all the Rhode Island kids, and also very critical of the kids that need to do work to be better. Have some really candid conversations about, hey, what can you do to be a better student athlete when you go to these camps and you can show out that, hey, we got talent here in Rhode Island. I mean, we've made a living. A big chunk of our roster, it's no mysteries, Rhode Island kids, 25. 2 of our captains are Rhode Island kids. We will probably start on offense, if I did go back and look at the exact number, 6 or 7 Rhode Island kids on offense and similar numbers to defense, which if a third to half your starters are from Rhode Island, that's a lot. So we got some great young players from Rhode Island. And obviously we recruit more than Rhode Island, but I live in Rhode Island, and obviously I'm very, very committed to our Rhode Island kids we bring in here. I think we bring some of the best Rhode Island kids out of Rhode Island to us. We don't just take anyone. We do a major evaluation, and not just evaluation of where they're at, where we think they could be if we develop them through our program. Do they have the potential? Are they maxed out at their frame and their ability, or do they have more room to get bigger, faster, stronger, and better? So,
I mean, we're looking at your roster right here. If we go with the Rhode Island kids, it starts up here with Matt Gaychuk, of course, his number 2, but his brother Steven, number 11, Steven Gaychuk. Is this kid the real deal?
yeah, Steven's a different. I call him what we call a generational quarterback. What we mean by that is this. He is the most humble and driven person you've ever met. That kid will outwork, I say kid because I'm old, he's a young man, will outwork everybody. He's a graduate student working semi full time, going to college, playing football, and he outwork. I mean, if you were to watch his time on Huddle and his time in the library and his time, all he does is work. He's a grinder, but he's also very humble. He does. It's not all about him. I mean, it's always about the team. It's always about what can he do to help the team. So he's a leader. He leads from the front. First guy in the building, last guy out of the building. I mean, it's just he's a different dude, man. He's like the David Goggins of Division III football in the sense that like he just works. It's just there's no fakeness to him. He is who he is 24/7. And if I could have 22 Stephen Gatrix or 11 offense, 11 defensive positions starting that mentality, I think you win a lot of football games. I mean, he's different, man. I mean, been doing this 22 years. He is the best quarterback and best leader we've ever had here, I've ever had. And if anyone can make a run at the National Football League, it's him. He'll just outwork you. And doesn't matter if he's injured, he's a machine. So he does in the classroom too. I mean, he's a mechanical engineering guy, like a 3.8, 3.9 GPA. I mean, never gets in trouble, doesn't do anything wrong. I mean, he's a different animal, Mike. When he comes on the field, you know he's there. It's the aura and the energy around him is so positive and so electrifying. And the kids feed off of it. And he's made this whole roster start to buy into that. I mean, we have a defensive end that's a senior. When he was a freshman, Sean Reel from Providence, Rhode Island originally, played at Classical. He was 195 pounds. He's a 250-something pound human being with muscle and speed. He's amazing. If you saw him now coming as freshman, you wouldn't recognize him. Mikey, can you hear me?